Hello everybody and welcome back to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hosler, as always with CoolStuffInc, and this is Lukka Panza. Coppercoat Panza is a little more catchy of a name, so that's what we're going to go with. But look, this deck is really neat. It's been making the rounds on the fringes of Magic Online events as people try to figure out the build, but there's some pretty cool stuff going on here, and we will start with this. Lukka Coppercoat Outcast. This is what it's all about. It's been wrecking Standard by getting Agent of Treacheries, and now in Modern, it has arrived. 5 mana, +1. Look at the top 3 of your library. Creatures get exiled this way, and you can play them as long as you have Lukka. Good against control. It's got an ultimate. Most Planeswalkers do. -7. Each creature deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Well, that's an abode, and we might win some games off of that, but here's why we're playing this card. Same reason as in Standard. -2. Exile a creature you control. Get one from your library with converted mana cost more. So, take a look up and down our deck. What do you notice? You notice that everything costs 3 except this Emrakul. So that's right, the plan. Now, we do have 6 mana dorks here that cost more. So if we sacrifice a mana dork to Lukka, bets are off. But we have so many 3-drops here that we can sacrifice instead, which will always get us an Emrakul. We won't have haste or anything like that. We won't cast it, so we don't get an extra turn. But we will have an Emrakul in play. That's pretty good. And outside of that, this is a Panza deck. This is a straightforward red-green deck that does a lot of powerful things, although this one in particular is really tilted toward this Emrakul angle. If you've watched my videos for a while, you know I love Emrakul. Search the Emrakul deck on YouTube and you will see kind of my pride and joy in my own Modern creation. But so we're going to use one of the most broken mana engines in all of Modern. No, it's not Tron. It's Utopia Sprawl, Arbor Elf. You can turn 1 Arbor Elf, turn 2 Sprawl, untap it, make 4 mana on turn 2. Pretty good. And note that we are playing the 1 Simian Spirit Guide here so that we can get that Lukka into play on turn 2 in the perfect world. But hey, so look, we want a 1-drop mana thing, whether that's a Dork or a Utopia Sprawl. We've got the bolts for removal. Then we have all these 3-drops, and I'm going to work our way through them there. Bonecrusher Giant, pretty generically good Magic card. Magus of the Moon, yeah, your opponents, sometimes they just need to have mountains, right? It's just what you need to do in the format, and it's really good in this deck, because this deck is not just trying to Blood Moon your opponent out. That's just part of the plan. It's just an option we have. Seasoned Pyromancer, this has been a great one for this. This is nice because it allows you some card filtering in this deck, which is not something that you get out of these type of decks very often, these red-green decks. You can even throw your Emrakul back into your deck if you need to, since when you discard it, it'll go back into your library. So then we've got Kitchen Finks because, hey, it's just a good value card. It's like playing 2015 Modern all over again. Klothys, new addition here, just does it all, really. This card is just a nice value engine in this format. And now, the ones I love. Pillage, these Panza decks are not the Panza decks of old when the deck first kind of broke out, where you just played Stone Rains, and that was good enough. That's not good enough in Modern anymore. There's too many broken mana engines. But here's a sweet one. Planebound Accomplice. I mean, Pillage is still good because it hits artifacts too, but Planebound Accomplice, red mana, put a Planeswalker into your hand, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. You might notice that playing and activating Planebound Accomplice, that costs 4 mana instead of the 5 that Lukka costs, which means on turn 2, play, activate Planebound Accomplice, then sacrifice Planebound Accomplice to Lukka, get your Emrakul on turn 2. That's a plan, right? It is a plan, and I'm excited to give it a shot. Like I said, this deck has a lot of ways to play fair, and it also just has this sweet, sweet engine going on. And, oh, by the way, I should have mentioned this off the top. We're playing Obosh. It is a companion deck because, you know, we're playing Magic, and everything's a companion deck these days. Although, interesting stats, I will go ahead and share this. Modern actually has been the least impacted by companions. I believe at last count, it was something like 60% as opposed to all the other formats, which are 70% or higher. So I guess it's Modern. This is the format you can most afford to not play a companion, but we're going to do it anyways because Obosh is sweet. Get to double the damage from all these odd converted mana cost cards that we have. Pretty straightforward sideboard. We do have that restriction, but you know what? Generic cards you want. Relic, Grafdigger's Cage, Veil of Summer, Natural State. These cards are 1 mana. That works. Your Blood Moons, your Anger, 3 mana. Life goes on. This is an interesting one. You gain 4 life, gain 8 life if a creature died this turn. That's what you want against those prowess decks. And Glorybringer. Now, Glorybringer does cost more than 3, so it does kind of work against the Lukka Emrakul plan. But in the matchups we're going to be bringing it in, getting a Glorybringer is just going to be just as good. And in some cases, it could even be better than hitting an Emrakul that doesn't have haste. So there you go, everybody. That is the deck. It is Obosh Coppercoat Panza. There's too many words with all these companions now. But you know what? We are playing a fun deck here on Mighty Modern, just like always. Let's jump into the games. I can't wait to see how this plays out. All right, here we go. It is Ponza time, everybody. Make Obosh our companion and see what we've got. Well, this is a Ponza hand if I've ever seen one. I believe we're on the play. We might be on the draw. Let's see. I am on the play. So, with that in mind, do I like this hand? This is a very interesting hand, and you know what? I'm going to be a little greedy, and I'm going to keep it because it can do some broken stuff. Look, if we draw a land, this hand is obviously insane. And if we don't draw a land, we're on the play, then what? We still have 4 mana on turn 3 or whatever, and we still get to, I guess we'd still have 3 mana on turn 3, and we can still do stuff, right? Including play out a Magus of the Moon. So, and the thing though is keeping this hand here. If we just draw a land of any kind, well, I just get to play a turn 2 Magus of the Moon and really lock our opponent out. Although, I guess now that I say that, Utopia Sprawl can only enchant a forest. And this would not be a forest anymore. So, the more you know. That said, my opponent just playing the Windswept Heath anyways. Alright, so we did not quite get there. That said, yes, I guess we won't be playing this Magus anytime soon, and instead we'll be loading up this Stomping Ground with the Utopia Sprawls. Yeah, I think this actually works. This is 4 mana on 1 land. I'd kill for a twiddle right now. So, but next turn we can play out the Kitchen Finks. We can play the Pillage, depending on what my opponent does. They didn't even fetch over there. What's this? A promo Wooded Foothills? That's neat. You'll see this Magus, and this will all be pretty medium anyway, so Kitchen Finks is probably the best play we have. Wow, look at that. Okay. Now we're doing something. Now we are getting somewhere, friends. Look at this. We get to play the Kitchen Finks. Gain some life, sure, why not? We get to play the Arbor Elf, though. Look, I don't know what our opponent's up to. I do know that it's turn 3, and despite having 1 land, we have played 7 mana worth of spells. So that's not bad. Now, next turn, if in some bizarro world we get to untap with the Arbor Elf, we have 1 billion mana, which would be quite nice. But even if we don't, if we hit a land, we still get to play our Lukka. We still get to minus the Kitchen Finks, which has Persist to come back to protect the Lukka, and we get to go get our Emrakul. So, pretty strong plan. Now, our opponent showing us the same lands over there as they stomp our... Maybe we're in the mirror. I don't know. I sure would like to hit land right here and win the game, though. Well, not quite, I guess. Not quite. That said, all hope is not lost. Somehow we're still playing this game. We're going to do that, and we're going to pillage away the Stomping Ground, okay? So, and we're going to get in there with the Kitchen Finks. So, look, this is certainly a plan that you can have with this deck. Is it a good plan? I'm honestly not quite sure. But I do know that pillaging your opponent while beating them down with the Kitchen Finks is certainly not a bad strategy. And look, our opponent doesn't have any red mana, or at least they have no play. So, it is time, friends. There's our land, just for good measure. Our opponent's at 15. That's conveniently an Emrakul hit. All right. Let's play a Lukka. Why not? Well, rip. I guess I should have attacked first, but whatever. Oh, it doesn't even persist back. It doesn't sacrifice, it exiles. But you know what? It doesn't matter because our opponent is dead. The Emrakul got it done. Kitchen Finks I do love, though. It doesn't work with Lukka. It's not a sacrifice, it's an exile. But it does do a great job of protecting your Planeswalkers. It's a good on-curve play. It's very good against the Prowess decks. Kitchen Finks is a heck of a Magic card. It has been for a long time. And Modern has largely passed it by, but some days it works. So I have to say, we're either against just Gruul mid-range, or we're just in the straight mirror here. Either of which are actually pretty funny. The Maguses are not very good here. The problem with doing this is that I really want these Glorybringers. I really do. I'm not going to, though. I'm going to play it a little safer. My opponent might have Tarmogoyfs, so I actually... The thing about Relic, and some people even main deck this card in different decks like this, it just cycles. It's just good against a lot of the field. as it stands, even in game one, it's certainly not worse than many other things as 1-mana cyclers or 1-mana draw card cycler. Regardless, you get a lot of use out of it in the main deck. So I actually kind of like taking out the cards that aren't great here and just trying to combo my opponent again. That worked so well. That was beautiful. It was exactly how we drew it up. And instead, we've been served up an incredibly fair hand. I'm going to mulligan this one. It just seems really mediocre if this is a mirror here. And this one I will keep. This hand is very close to being great. I'm going to bottom the Relic. I know I talked about how awesome it is, but the truth is it doesn't do a ton against our opponent. If they have Goyfs, we're just trying to go over the top of that anyways. But our opponent, by the way, could also just have a very good hand because, their deck does that too. We'll go ahead and go get our force here, play out our Arbor Elf, but our opponent with the ideal start of their own with their own Arbor Elf. So we'll see if this actually gets us anywhere. And for all I know, they're about to play the Lukka on us, right? It's certainly looking like that might be the case. I can't believe we ran into the mirror. This is Mining Modern. This is not exactly a popular deck here. But hey, it really is the mirror. There's the Klothys. I can't believe it. I love it. All right. Well, Klothys is not bad against. It's pretty good with this Wooded Foothills in our graveyard. That said, though, we got to do some stuff. We're going to do some stuff here. I'm going to pay 2 life. I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. Utopia Sprawl this thing. We will choose red. We'll do the thing. We'll have 4 mana. Unfortunately, not enough to Lukka our opponent, so I can either Finks and Birds, but I think Pillage plus Birds is probably better. Well, I say that. Maybe I don't know. The Finks gives us the body to sacrifice to the Lukka, but man, it really is hard to turn down just pillaging your opponents, right? Land destruction is really tempting, and given that I don't know. I mean, given that they have the Klothys, it kind of slows them down a little bit. I don't know. There's only so much fodder for the Klothys. I mean, to wit, there's one more land there for them. All right, so they're going to stomp that thing down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I do not have access to the Lukka quite yet. I never have. There's never been an opportunity to cast it. That said, if we hit one here, hit a land here, we did not. All right, so this is fine. I mean, we're basically in the same boat we were in before. All seems perfectly reasonable. Gain some life. We'll play fair. There's our Arbor Elf. So, okay, so if we get to untap here, I mean, if we're lucky at all, and our opponent, by the way, missing land drops, that Pillage might have worked out here because once they eat this land with this Klothys, now they don't have access to that. So when your opponent's missing land drops, yeah, Klothys is great. It ramps you, etc., but it doesn't ramp you. It's not a rampant growth, right? It's just a card that has to use up its fodder. And as you can see, my opponent opted to not even exile the Stomping Ground there. They kept it there for later. Looks like they did find a land, so they're setting up. But the problem for them is that by playing their own Kitchen Finks out here, they basically have just guaranteed that they're in the worst spot because now we're going to untap and we're going to have our Emrakul. So this seems quite good for us. And again, I guess the attack matters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like Klothys is almost a creature for what it's worth. Or 5 rather. Yeah, I mean sure, I guess we may as well get in with the Kitchen Finks. My opponent's tapped out. I don't think we're gonna get punished here. Simian Spirit Guide Lightning Bolt will get us, but this seems pretty safe. If they trade with us, whatever. This means now that when the point of this is that when our Kitchen Finks is gone, which it will be after we exile it to Lukka here. Yeah, we have 2 more life, sure, but this trades now with our Mana Dork. Which, doesn't quite matter yet, but it does matter. I mean, it's less power. It also means that we can theoretically even take a hit. We go to 3, then take 2 from the Kitchen Finks, go down to 1 on the Lukka. Or we'll have lots of options. I mean, the reality is none of those options may not matter because our opponent might just be scooping right now to this Emrakul. Oh, look, it's an Emrakul. I thought about bringing those Glorybringers in because look, I said it. A Glorybringer would have been fine there. I could have done it pre-combat, hit a Glorybringer, taking out the Arbor Elf on my attack. But instead, my opponent has to try to find an answer to the Emrakul. They're not technically dead. 15 is not 26. They're going to have life left over, but Annihilator tends to get there, and now they don't have the extra body out of the Kitchen Finks. So they're going to have to do something very good, play their own Emrakul, give it haste. I don't even know if that would work. I could sacrifice 6 permanents to it, go down to 1. Another Kitchen Finks to try to just provide fodder for the Emrakul. That's not a winning strategy, no matter how much life you're gaining. Which, I got to give it to my opponent, is a decent amount. But they seem quite dead here. Alright, well, I guess I will just go ahead and move to combat. Because why not? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my opponent has exactly 6 permanents for the Annihilator 6, which means I believe I'm clean to attack with the Arbor Elf if I so choose. I'm not going. This game's over. I'm just going to attack with this Emrakul and play out my Seasoned Pyromancer. Second main phase, if my opponent isn't going to be scooping, so that we can reload our hand. We can discard the Verdant Catacombs, and we have a Pyromancer in play. I love this card. My opponent says I should have Oboshed. I should have Oboshed instead of doing it. You know what? You're not technically wrong. I could have dealt 30 and one-shot you there with the Obosh. As my opponent, by the way, you can see the literal mirror here. But Annihilator 6 gets the job done. No Obosh needed, although I guess it would have been good for the Rubbins. Anyways, there you go, everybody. Somehow we played the mirror in the first round, first match I played with the deck, and the deck worked perfectly for us. Good game. On to the next one. All right, it's going to be hard to live up to that first match, but we are going to do our best here. We're on the play. We have what I think is a pretty solid hand. We've got the birds here. We've got the Simian Spirit Guide, which was a fun little addition I made to the deck, just because it enables cool moments. I don't know if that's the thing you would want if you were to go play this in a, paper event once those exist again. But hey, I'm all about going for the cool moments here on this series. So let's see what we can do. Well, apparently what we can do is get Fatal Pushed. So I guess that's that. That's fine. My opponent's playing some kind of Lurrus deck over there. There's Utopia Sprawl. Okay. You know what? I'm in. Let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and name... I'm going to fetch a Stomping Ground with this. I'm going to name red. We got a lot of red cards in our hand. They're all double cost, so... let's see what we're up to. Let's see what we've got going on here. This might be a game. I mean, I don't know, but it could be a game where Lukka Plus is good if our opponent is playing, Fatal Push and a bunch of removal. But Seasoned Pyromancer is a pretty nice one here. The Bonecrusher Giant will probably come in handy at some point. Honestly, this hand is I think, pretty decently set up to try and grind out a game with our opponent. I'm not sure what to make of the Lurrus in their deck quite yet. I mean, the card's everywhere, so it really doesn't mean much. Apparently, it's a Kroxa. Oof. I guess it's the Pyromancer. The Pyromancer at least has some sort of value from the graveyard, even if it's not a lot. The Kroxa that card is very good. I like that card. Let's see here. I wanted to preserve as much of the rest of this as possible, and specifically for reasons like this. So, let's see here. Do we think my opponent has another removal spell? If our opponent has another removal spell, we're in trouble. But if they don't, well, it would even have to depend on... Yeah. The thing is, I could use the Simian Spirit Guide, cast a Bonecrusher Giant this turn, then next turn untap, have 5 mana with the Utopia Sprawl, the Arbor Elf, play Lukka, have our Emrakul in play next turn. However, if we do that, we get massively blown out by removal. So I think I'm just going to play it safe. I'm going to pass the turn back here. We can go fetch a Stomping Ground in the instep. I mean, that way, we still have 3 mana even if our opponent kills this. To play one of these cards. I think that line, I'm glad I saw it and thought about it, but it was very risky, although it might have worked. It might have actually just worked out for us here. This Inquisition of Kozilek was at least coming in front of a Lightning Bolt or a Fatal Push if they have it. It can only hit one of the two, so they're going to take the Bonecrusher Giant as expected here. Let's see what's up. I mean, it wasn't a Liliana, which is good for us. This is probably just Jund. Lurish Jund, because why not? Well, that card is, quite frankly, unbeatable for our deck. So this one you might chalk up to a loss already. We're a deck of Mana Dorks, and card is pretty good against Mana Dorks here is Wrenn 6. Just gets the minus to kill our creatures, so that's too bad. We might have actually gotten away with the real... Well, we would have got our Dork killed, so we wouldn't have gotten away with the greedy play, I guess. That said, we now have 3 mana and we have a Simian Spirit Guide, so hitting land there is pretty good, I think. This is great, actually. This Simian Spirit Guide is doing work. Doing absolute work right now. I'm not really sure what to make of my life total at this point. I don't know if I should just shock here. I don't think I need to. So I'm just going to get the forest. I'm going to exile the Simian Spirit Guide to add red for 5 mana. Play out Lukka as our last card in hand. And we get a plus. So here we go. Let's see what we hit. We got a Utopia Sprawl, a Stomping Ground, and a Wooded Foothills. So can't play any of those. But now we're in a position where my opponent had what is, I think, pretty good. I mean, a good hand. They went Fatal Push, Kroxa, Inquisition, Wrenn 6. That is a strong series of cards to play in the first couple turns. And yet, here we are with a Lukka in play. If my opponent doesn't have an Assassin's Trophy or something else, they could be in trouble. I mean, even a Bloodbraid Elf, unless it were to hit a Lightning Bolt or something, doesn't kill Lukka. We could draw a 3-drop, cast it, and then minus it and have our Emrakul in play. Now, I guess that line is actually somehow susceptible to a Liliana, but I'm just saying. I mean, look, and that's one of the better outcomes for my opponent. They could just have nothing here. They could have return land, start cycling the peat land. This is, something that doesn't interact with Lukka, gives us the ability to really pull out ahead quickly. Now, it would have been nice if we'd hit... Okay, interesting. An Engineer Explosives one. It would have been nice if we'd hit something there off that first Lukka activation. It would have made this decision a little easier. They're going to blow up our Utopia Sprawl, huh? Sure. Well, okay. Well, that does make that decision pretty easy, doesn't it? There we go. I can't actually play the Seasoned Pyromancer, so I think it'll be the Klothys. Oh, wow, and I still get to play these, don't I? Okay, great. So, yeah, this card doesn't have to tap. That's crazy. I'm not sure I quite realized that about this card. And my opponent, by the way, actually has to worry, possibly anyways, about an ultimate as they just bolt this thing down to 4. But this thing doesn't have to tap to do its thing, which is really powerful. So next turn, we can use Klothys to exile, I guess, probably a land, make some mana here, and start playing some of these out. We can play the... We'll have some options. I mean, that said, if this is my opponent's plan, we beat everything but Liliana, I think, at this point. Because it's not a big deal to discard this Lukka. My opponent has played everything, right? They don't have haste. This deals 1 damage to any target. I guess technically that can ping something, but I gotta say, it looks like we're gonna have the opportunity, at least, to resolve... Oh, they went to face, huh? Okay. Looks like we're gonna have the opportunity to get Emrakul in play, and then cross our fingers our opponent doesn't have an edict effect, essentially. I think that's pretty much gonna be the line. Let's eat... Go ahead and eat their Bloodstained Mire. Why can't I choose it? What am I missing here? Alright, I would like... What am I missing? Why can't I choose theirs? I don't know. Okay. Whatever, I guess I'll choose mine. I'm honestly not quite sure what happened there. Why couldn't I choose their... Why are they... They're not even in their graveyard? Okay, whatever. I'm done trying to worry about it. I suppose let's just take our mana and move on here. Okay, so I have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Yeah, I think the play has to just be to play this thing out and then go get our Emrakul and hope our opponent doesn't have the answer to it. And I can even discard this? I'm in. Heck yeah. Alright, so we still have access to this thing. We'll go ahead and just minus this while we can. I mean, the thing is, if my opponent has a Edict effect, the thing is, if they had Liliana, they would have played Liliana earlier. They would have played Liliana and minus it to get our creature, which tells me they don't, which tells me we win. Taking down Luris Jund right there, baby. That was sweet. Now what, though? Blood Moon, I think. This protects you from blue and black. Does that stop Liliana? I think it does. Let's see. Liliana of the Veil. Target player sacrifices a creature. I'm in. Let's see. We want the relics in here. There's probably Goyfs in there, one would assume. The Bonecrusher Giant seem medium. I love that. I'm going to cut the pillages here, just because something has to go, and pillaging your opponent with their with Red and Six probably not the world's best strategy. Cut a birds. Actually, I'm going to cut 2 birds. I do not want to get hosed by the 1-drops. I think you have to keep the Arbor Elves in the situations where your opponent does not have the Ren and 6, but I think in this case we definitely can cut the birds and try to lessen our vulnerability to it. As you saw in that game, that was pretty interesting. I mean, my opponent had a great game, but our deck just did it did its thing very slowly, but it did its thing well enough. So here we go. On to game 2. Let's see what we can do. And you know what? I'm in. Arbor Elf is a good start always. The thing is, Seasoned Pyromancer is also very good. I like this card a lot. This has got to be the dumbest interaction. The Luris Mishra's Bauble. I mean, Luris was just a mistake. This card should 100% allow you to just cast creatures out of your graveyard. I know that they don't test for older formats, but you put permanent spell, you just know it's going to be broken. Everyone knows LED exists. You know, it's just obviously going to break Legacy. All right, we're going to get Inquisitioned here. Not a big deal. All right, so the Luris Bauble interaction is cute though. It's I really do like companions, sort of the concept of them, and the Bauble Luris interaction is very powerful. All right, so our opponent took the Veil of Summer, another silly card that has been recently printed. We'll see if it matters here. There's a Kitchen Finks. I like drawing that quite a bit. I won't lie, I have a soft spot for Finks anyways. I play, my favorite commander deck is Carador, and I Kitchen Finks combo for Infinite Life in it. It's pretty fun. Also, I played a bunch of those company decks back in the day when Collected Company was a fair Magic card you could play and not be embarrassed by in Modern. So those days are long past, unfortunately, but Kitchen Finks always going to have a special place in my heart. All right, just a scavenging news from my opponent. So we actually get to resolve the... And our graveyard doesn't really matter that much, so I don't even mind it that much. But look, we get some options, actually. I think I'm just going to go with the Kitchen Finks. I think that's probably the best line. It's the most resilient to a Liliana by far. If that's what my opponent were to follow up with. It's obviously Abrupt Decay, Assassin Trophy, any of these cards. Kitchen Finks is just going to be very good against. Next turn, we get to draw another one. At that point, we'll have access to 4 mana. In theory, we can play Seasoned Pyromancer, maybe get some new hand going on. But also, we have this Lukka, right? If we drew, I guess we'd have to draw Utopia Sprawl, would be the only way that we could get there. But a Utopia Sprawl would give us 5 mana for Lukka, and then we'd have an Emrakul. So, you always got to hope for the best case scenario, right? Oh, okay, our opponent's going to pillage us. Sure. I truly do not care about being pillaged at all. Can't even do anything with your scavenging news here. This was a bit of a non-turn for my opponent, frankly. Yeah, it obviously does slow us down, but... And I might be better for them than it is for us. I don't know, but I know that Kitchen Finks gets to swing up past that scavenging news and do some damage. And now we get to do this. I mean, I definitely understand what my opponent was trying to do there. So we're going to pitch the other Pyromancer in the land, keep the Lukka, and hit 2 more lands, I guess. I mean, that's fine. They do have value, especially after being pillaged here. All of this is keeping us from 5 mana to play Lukka and immediately have that Emrakul in play. So my opponent is kind of up against it here. I mean, they're going to need more land destruction, I guess, or some way to pull cards straight out of our deck, or they're going to need a Thoughtseize to hit the Lukka. Doesn't look like they have any of that right now. They have a Kolaghan's Command to kill our Arbor Elf and make us discard a card. Okay, that's fine. I mean, they are doing a good job keeping us off our feet on mana here as we draw the Simian Spirit Guide, but all right, this thing can be a 3/3 now, so I can attack with my Kitchen Finks still. It would actually trade with the Skoos. The Skoos can't eat it. I look at the fair game plan here. Our opponent's down to 8. That said, now, you know, the first Pillage was whatever. The Kolaghan's Command to follow it up. You know, things might be starting to get a little questionable now. I mean, look, obviously if we hit a land off the top of it, we're golden, right? But things could happen before then. You know, our opponent could reasonably take over this board, start pinging down our creatures, get their own planeswalkers involved before we're able to cast Lukka. And at this point, even another Pillage would get us kind of hard. I wouldn't really want to... A Liliana would also be very good against us, unfortunately, right now. Because we have to either discard mana or whatnot. So instead, it's just Lurrus. So I say just Lurrus. The card's obviously insane. But in this case, it's a bauble that they don't get to draw with until my turn. So in theory, at the very least here, I will have the opportunity to draw land. And there's a Goyf. I'll have the opportunity to draw a land to get our Emrakul here. So we can untap land off the top of the deck. I think we're going to win. So here we go. Oh, the sweat. The sweat as my opponent pops the bauble here. Oh, shoot. That's an interesting one. There's no way I can't play it. There's just no way I can't play it here. If we get pillaged on our forest, we get pillaged on our forest. But that was kind of sick. If we weren't going to draw a land to get an Emrakul, I will settle for Magus of the Moon. My opponent now down to black and red mana. Now, granted, it's a Kroxa deck. It's not like just having black and red ends their game plan or anything like that, and they are getting value off this bauble, but it does... It messes them up a little bit, right? They don't have double black. They don't have green. They don't have that many cards in hand right now. That's another mountain. We're just trying to buy some time, right? Just trying to buy some time. I'll take this hit from the Goyf. No big deal. Let's see what we find. I would sure like to take down Jund. I won't lie. A Dark Confidant. A Dark Confidant when they're at 8. Now, they do have the Skoos, but I guess this technically... I mean, this has a lifelink too, but all right. Just give me a land. Give me a land, please. Magic Online. Let's go! It's a Relic of Progenitus. Okay. Whatever, I guess. Huh. Well, we get to keep the Skoos small. I'll tell you that. Unfortunately, my opponent didn't even eat this Pyromancer. Not that it matters. I think I'm going to go ahead and cycle this. We get rid of the bauble while we can. The Goyf gets shrunk. I mean, this seems perfectly fine for us. Also, just drawing a card is good, obviously. They actually have the Lightning Bolt here for our Magus of the Moon, so... I guess I don't mind much of that. Oh, it unlocks their green mana for their Skoos. I see. Sure. Well, they're less likely to die to their own Dark Confidant now. I mean, I just want to find land. I mean, I just want to find land and win the game. Yeah, but being able to hurt the... Oh, we've done it. We've done it. All right, well, let's play it out. Okay, here goes. Do we get to untap? My opponent has one card in hand. They have a Nurturing Peatland they can crack, and they have a Dark Confidant, which is going to reveal a Dark Confidant. Well, that is not what they wanted at all. So, I was worried about that. There's nothing we can do about it, but Inquisition takes the Simian Spirit Guide. It helps them grow the Skoos again. There's the Kroxa to take our Lukka. This was exactly the only... This was the only line we could lose to. Oh, man. It feels bad. I mean, we're not dead yet, but this was the only line we were going to lose to was this kind of hand disruption here. And, you know, I held that forest. Maybe I should have kept... My thought process was, when my opponent doesn't have very many cards, I can just hold this... Oop, I'd have to put both of them in. You just have to take it. We're just in such... This was just so unlucky. Our opponent had to have some very specific draws here. They were going to go up to 3 cards there. They needed to have a discard spell, like a targeted discard spell, and then a Kroxa to actually get Lukka out of our hand. My thought was, I play the land here, and then even if they do have an Inquisition of Kozilek to get rid of our Simian Spirit Guide, we're still in a position where drawing a land gets Lukka. I played around the Inquisition and not the Inquisition plus the Kroxa. I don't know. That was pretty unfortunate. Very nice series of draws from our opponent that, unfortunately, probably dooms us. I don't really think we can win from here. I mean, I guess we may as well play it out for a turn, but we're dead. I mean, this is the Luris. Well, yeah, this game's just over. That was very unfortunate. We got extremely... I mean, look, I'm not saying we got unlucky to lose. I'm just saying that once the game... Because you lose games, right? This deck might even... For all I know, this deck's favored against us, right? It's not about that. I'm just saying that the way that game played out, we had multiple turns to get there, and we couldn't quite do it. And they even had to have the lightning bolt too to get the Magus because they needed the double black to play both. That was it was just unlucky all around. But that's the way it goes. Let's see if we can take down game 3 here. We get to go first. And make this thing my companion again. And I'm in. Turn 2 Magus of the Moon. I'm in. Now at least we get a try for the Magus of the Moon anyways. I think I name red. Even though this will be red later, we'd only have the... Maybe I should have named green? I don't know. Depends what I want to play first on turn 2 here. It might be a Kitchen Finks even, I don't know. Alright. Thoughtseize for my opponent. Not a hand you particularly want to Thoughtseize. Fortunately for them, they did have the basic swamp. Very, very lucky. That's how it goes, right? Whenever you have the Blood Moon, your opponents have the basics. My opponent saw Magus of the Moon in game 2, so it's pretty easy for them to prioritize both keeping basics and fetching for basics. So we play them because it's sort of a free roll in our deck, but unfortunately the Blood Moon trick sometimes only gets people once. That said, my opponent trying to figure out what to Thoughtseize here. And it's a hard choice for them because if they hit... They do hit a Magus. All right. Interesting decision, I think, from them. So I can play the Magus. Like, they're representing Fatal Push, right? But without a fetch land, Fatal Push doesn't do anything. They could just have the Mountain and the Bolt. How greedy is it to just play Kitchen Finks here? Because what my opponent is telegraphing to me by Thoughtseizing away Magus of the Moon when we have a duplicate copy is that they believe they can answer this Magus of the Moon in our hand. Which means, I guess it doesn't mean Fatal Push. It would have to be Lightning Bolt. And Lightning Bolt is the play. I want to have Kitchen Finks, you know? So, I'm going to do that. Because look at last game. My opponent was down to like 7 life off a Dark Confidant or something. It's reasonable that we just beat them down with the Kitchen Finks. Plus, obviously, it's Jund. I'm sure there's Liliana's in there somewhere. Kitchen Finks is the best card against Liliana. Now, the downside of that is my opponent can fetch out the basic forest here, and that is something I considered. But, you know, it's a hard choice, right? It's a tough call either way. But my opponent was just... We don't know that they have the fetch land. We can reasonably assume that they do, but we don't know. Whereas based on their line of play, we basically know that they have a removal spell for the Magus. That's my reasoning anyways. This Scavenging Ooze is so good against us, though. Very annoying. I mean, I think I still Magus them here, but... We have 4 mana right now. I don't know. This game's going to be rough, but I think we do Magus just to force them to use their most... I mean, it messes their turn up the best and when they want to use it to Skoos and so on. And then, you know, we'll see what we draw. We can Pyromancer to draw some more lands here. Or, I'm sorry, rather, to hopefully turn lands into spells. Or if we find a Lukka, we're 1 mana short of that. So, excuse me. We'll see where things go. Pyromancer's not bad, though. Obviously, Scavenging Ooze is basically the best card our opponent could have. We don't have Scavenging Oozes in our graveyard, or in our sideboard. I wouldn't hate them. We also have Obosh if we get 1 more mana. That's a thing. They're in the tank, though, and I understand why, because this is not super easy for them. It's, yeah, so there's the mountain as expected. So they have to, their options just aren't great. Wow, and it's a Dark Confidant, huh? Okay. Interesting. I mean, that probably just trades with my Kitchen Finks. Wow, okay, that's aggressive. I mean, I obviously can't block. They can eat my creature, my graveyard, and make it a 3/3, but it's still aggressive because of the ability for me to attack. All right, let's see what we hit. A little late, but not bad. The problem if I Pyromancer is that I have to discard the Veil of Summer. And holding up the Veil of Summer is obviously the play I want to make, and man, I think I'm forced into holding it and doing nothing. This feels very bad, but I'm just not sure. I don't think that playing a Pyromancer, they revealed a Pillage, so that's a thing. You and permanents, not creatures. You and permanents you control gain hexproof, so it's at least going to work out for us. This is probably one of the best outcomes we could have, frankly, because I didn't want to play a Pyromancer, discard 2 good cards, also give my opponent fodder for the Confidant, and just draw lands or something. Or I'm sorry, for the Skoos, and then just draw lands or something we can't do anything with. I mean, it's a bit risky to do it that way, but why did I not draw a card? Oh, because it's from blue and black, not red. Lol. Not that it particularly matters here. Yeah, didn't matter at all. Funny habit, though. All right. Well, I can get in with the Kitchen Finks. I mean, I say it didn't matter. I still think we made the correct play in holding it up. And it doesn't matter that yeah, it doesn't stop the Pillage. Blue and black, not red. Duh. But also, that's not hugely relevant because we were just going to end up pitching it this turn anyways. Now, I do think we're in a lot of trouble here because of how good Scavenging Ooze is. I mean, this card is just... At one point, this was deemed too powerful for Modern back in the day, but it is just extremely good. It's going to win in this game almost single-handedly. We do not have a lot of removal. We don't really have removal. There's the Fatal Push. We don't really have removal that it hits it once it's more than 3 toughness anyways. And I say that Veil of Summer didn't matter because we were always going to have to discard it here. All right. Yep. Quite punished, by the way, drawing that Lightning Bolt. Now, it is possible that my opponent doesn't grow the Skoos in the... Never mind. I was going to say, it's possible they don't grow the Skoos in the main phase. They just pass or something, and then maybe we can get around and respond to it or something like that. But instead, my opponent has the Inquisition. They get to take the Planebound Accomplice out of our hand. Interesting. So now they'll undoubtedly eat a creature in their main phase, or at the very least, hold up 2 green mana. Collective Brutality. Well, that does it too. They're just going to use this to get our card. Sure thing. And out comes the Goyf. 5/6. All right, well, this is the point of the game we're at. This is exactly what our opponent's deck is meant to do, is just grind us out of resources. And let's see. That makes sense. All right, well, conveniently, I'm 1 short for this. My opponent's had exactly the right mana every turn, and I have been 1 short every turn. They have no cards in hand, though, so we're going to die a slow death to the Scavenging Ooze. That is what it is, but I guess we've at least got a draw step or 2 to try to dig out of this, and we do have a pretty decent amount of life. We can take a couple hits here. The game is not over yet. We are behind. It's a little frustrating the way these last couple games have played out, because I think that... we had to have some pretty unfortunate stuff happen. And I'm trying to think back to if there was any way I could have played that Veil any better. I drew land, but I needed to play the land to cast my spell. So once I cast that Pillage anyway, so yeah, I just didn't... at least I didn't actually mess anything up there. We just need to... We need to get lucky here. We're going to need the cards to be in our favor. It's got to be land into Lukka or just some kind of value card that gets us back in it. I'm not sure exactly what those look like right now. Utopia Sprawl, however, was probably not it. Yep, they're going to hit that. I mean, Utopia Sprawl does count as the land, so, you know. Yep. Add green, I suppose. Pass the turn back. Yeah, things are looking pretty dire here. My opponent gets to play a Dark Confidant out of their graveyard if they want. So that's obviously not ideal. I think they might get us on this one, but you saw how close these games were. We got them in game 1. In game 2, we had multiple live draw steps to get there, and in this game, it's just so close. You know, the margin of error was so small here, and it's like, and as I say that, the game's not over. I can just draw Lukka off the top of my deck and have an Emrakul in play. Okay, I do want to be clear about that. The game is not over. At the very minimum, I get to untap and cast Obosh. Which might mess up some math from our opponents, but Fatal push away our token, huh? This attack is just so massive, though. Yeah, I think bringing Lukka in is correct for you here. I have to take the Lukka hit, too, which is even worse. Because I need to be able to go down to 8. I take 8, I go to 3. The idea being next turn I can play Obosh. I don't think it matters. I think I'm just dead. Well, I have to keep a creature, though. Yeah, I don't think there's much we can do here. It's Lukka and bust. My opponent made the correct attack there, coming in with both creatures. If they didn't attack with the Lukka, then I'd be at 8 life, and we'd probably still be dead. Yeah, we just didn't quite get there. We had both these second 2 games. There were just lots of turns where whichever one of us drew better was going to win the game, and it was not me. So unfortunate, but hey, we get to show off the power of the deck. We had a great game 1. What more can you ask for? Here's the rub in Lukka, which actually wasn't good enough regardless. And that was so close. Just slightly different we could have got there, but that's the way it goes. My opponent's going to play good decks too, everyone. That was something, though. But let's see if we can turn around and pick up a win. All right, here we go. Trying to pick up a win with Obosh. Looks like we're on the draw here in this match. But this hand looks like a pretty reasonable keeper to me. We have a Utopia Sprawl. We've got a piece of ramp. We've got some removal spells. I mean, obviously, if our opponent is playing creature spells, this is great for us. Let's see. All right. Keep these 7. Hopefully we can just get him with the Magus here. Turn 2 Magus of the Moon, pretty decent. Obviously, if we were on the play, it would be much better. But even here on the draw, it's probably going to be strong. I mean, just rushing out your Blood Moon effects. Turn 3 is too slow in Modern these days, but a turn 2 Blood Moon, that tends to do some work. We'll see what our opponent's up to, of course, but it seems like a pretty reasonable start. There's some more mana. Okay, so we're going to have our red sources and, excuse me, I guess we'll just name green on this Utopia Sprawl because of that. Unless we get spell pierced, I suppose. Opponent fetching the Misty Rainforest away here. Maybe they got the answer. Or they're just gonna opt. They are shocking though. Wow, they got us. Okay, they got us with the stubborn denial. Good for them. I got force spiked. I could not pay 1. Well, okay. I guess we'll see where that leads. I don't know if that means much. I would have really liked to have had that resolved, though. I won't lie. All right, traversing open wall to go get a land, a basic land anyway, so there's a swamp. So we can still take them off of green and blue, though. I'm going to go ahead and shock this in. We're probably not doing anything with it, but I do want to have the option to Lightning Bolt / Stomp with the Bonecrusher Giant, depending on what our opponent does here. I mean, with any luck, they just do something like play a non-basic, escape Uro, play a non-basic. I assume that's something that kind of deck might do. Wow. Or they'll just miss entirely. Huh. That's interesting. Surely they have some kind of counter magic, though, right? I'm going to lead with the Planebound Accomplice here. This doesn't... The thing is, this card doesn't really matter if it resolves for us because we don't have a Planeswalker. We're not going to do anything with it. But it's definitely a terrifying card to our opponent. So the fact that that resolve tells me they probably don't have a counterspell in hand because I can't imagine them letting us put that in play otherwise. So, you know, we don't have as strong of a turn as we could have had, but we were able to hedge around counter magic. And it's not like having this in play is bad for us. You know, now it makes any Lukka we draw a completely live, extremely good draw that puts an Emrakul into play. So, you know, it has quite a bit going for that line, even in sort of the worst case where we don't beat the counter, you know, we don't bait out the counter magic. We'll see, though. I mean, my opponent's still not doing anything. And this probably starts to get a little problematic for him. All right, here we go. So they can only miss land drops for so long before I just kind of develop a fair board over here that can pressure their life total a little bit, and we have, you know, some amount of burn to back it up. Okay. They're actually going for the Inquisition here, so we're not going to get the Magus off, unfortunately. That is too bad. They were thinking about it. I wonder if there was almost a chance we got it through. All right, well, that's certainly not ideal, but let's see what we can do here. See if our deck wants to help us out. It does! Look at that. Look at that. Just like we drew it up. Lukka into play, please. Exile the Planebound. Play an Emrakul. This is fun. Isn't this deck fun, everybody? Oh, this is great. I love it. They're like, what? Probably, I mean, if they don't play Standard, they probably have to read this card. This is a very new deck, obviously, to the scene here with Ikoria not even out in paper yet. But this is neat. I love ways to cheat Emrakul into play. And this card that we exiled is really interesting, too, the Planebound Accomplice, because it's sort of an Elvish not Elvish Mystic, Elvish Piper for Planeswalkers, in that you can put Piper does creatures, this does Planeswalkers, you put them into play directly from your hand. This is really neat, because that was quite the combo right there. And now we, against Traverse Shadow, gonna go on to game 2. Veil of Summer, yes please. There's probably Snapcasters, so let's see what something like this looks like. I think I can cut a little bit of removal. They probably only have giant creatures. I think Pillage is probably actually pretty decent here. So is Klothys. Honestly, so is Kitchen Finks. Outside of Temur Battle Rage anyways. Maybe cut a Relic. We cut a Planebound. I think they probably have more counter magic certainly here. So in the one sense, it makes that card better, right? Because it does play around some particular counter magic. But on the other hand, it's also a card that if they just Thoughtseize away our Lukka or whatever, it can just easily sit. We got paid off last game. We caught a break, but it can also just, you know, be a 1-1 a lot of time, or a 1-3 rather a lot of times. At least it can block. I think this is okay. I'm unsure about the lightning bolts. Honestly, I'm not. Yeah, we'll see what all they have. If it's just Death Shadows, then they're not great. But then depending on what Planeswalkers they have, it could be good. We're not positive how that'll shake out. But hopefully we just, you know, have a nice start and we can just run out a turn 2 Magus of the Moon or something like that again. I like that. I like the way that last game played out. This is a neat card. This is where I like my Planeswalker design, because look, this deck 5-0 to League. You've seen our games. We've had some power stuff going on. It's a 5-mana Planeswalker making a splash in Modern, and yet no one looks at the card and thinks it's unfair. You have to do so much work to get a creature into play, and even here, where you can get the best creature into play with Emrakul, you still have to wait around to untap with it. It's a completely normal, fair Planeswalker that also just happens to be at a great power level. It's really cool. I love when Planeswalkers can impact the format in a way that isn't Liliana, Teferi, Narset, these cheap planeswalkers to get in underneath and then prison people out. You know, just an actual fair planeswalker with Lukka there is pretty neat. Gotta ship this one. I guess I'm in. I don't love it by any means, but it is what we got to work with here. I mean, don't get me wrong, these are all good cards against our opponent, but there's also just a lot of ways our opponent can play this game that we can't interact with. You know, if they're on a Thoughtseize, Turbo, Death Shadow plan, you know, we lose our Kitchen Finks. Our board starts to look pretty weak. That said, they did not hit us with a discard spell, which means I think I can actually hold on to this Veil of Summer and just go for the Utopia Sprawl here. It's a nice Utopia Sprawl draw, I'll say that. I'm never unhappy to have a Utopia Sprawl in the first couple of turns, right? It sometimes can be bad in that it's not a creature, doesn't attack or block, but at the same time, in a deck with Arbor Elves and Birds of Paradise, we kind of have both angles covered because sometimes not being a creature is actually more powerful. Although you are susceptible to stuff like Ghost Quarter or Field of Ruin. I suppose not Field of Ruin in this case, but certainly Ghost Quarter. Anyways, let's see what our opponent's actually up to now. They're shocking themselves down to 15. And it is a Goyf. It is a 2/3 Tarmogoyf. Okay. Well, we have some options. Wow, and there's a Lukka. Okay. I think I gotta play the Finks. I can get a basic force here. The next one probably has to get a Stomping Ground, but this seems perfectly reasonable here. This Kitchen Finks actually, at the moment, trades with the Tarmogoyf. But if nothing else, it will be a roadblock, and we have our 4th land drop in hand. We just have to find one more to get to Lukka and get Emrakul into play, which, depending on, I guess, the amount of Lilianas that may or may not be present, that's not necessarily a win, but it's certainly probably a win. And they're just going to move to combat here. Are they going to come in? I don't think I block either way, but looks like we don't even have to worry about it. All right, I got to like this. They're passing, but we get to leave up Veil of Summer. And there is our other... That's our 5th land. So now I think things are just great for us. I think it's going to actually be very difficult to lose from this point. I'm going to fetch the basic mountain here, I think. Trying to preserve my life total so we don't lose any weird Teamer Battle Rage, or maybe that's not coming, but Death Shadow shenanigans in general. I wish I didn't have to do this, so I don't want to discard 2. We could just do nothing. I don't want to discard 2 because I want to keep up the Veil of Summer to protect from a Thoughtseize, so we're under no pressure at all. Let's just pass the turn back and see what happens. It's not often you see a deck like that do nothing, so just cycling Nurturing Peatland is so far below what that deck wants to do on turn 3. That was an extremely inefficient use of their mana, which is just counter... It's the complete opposite of how Death Shadow decks work in Modern, right? They are the epitome of efficiency. You're running Street Race just to get more types into your graveyard as quickly as possible. You know, spend your life like none other. Life is a resource, but cracking draw lands on turn 2, not really what they want to do. So I gotta say I'm feeling pretty good here. We get an untap. Again, our opponent just doing nothing. We draw even a lightning bolt. I can't bolt the Goyf, but... Alright, I don't think I go for the Lukka here. I think that I pass. Because look, we're under no pressure to do anything here. My opponent clearly is going to have a Stubborn Denial or something. So I think I want to wait till I have Veil of Summer up to try to protect the Lukka. But that means we need one more mana. So the thing is, I have the Bolt if if they present us a target to Bolt. But next turn I can then play the Seasoned Pyromancer, discard the Bolt and whatever else we draw so that I can still preserve the Veil of Summer and Lukka in my hand, but hopefully dig to some lands to go for that win condition. You know, alternatively, my opponent could just tap out. That would also work. They are certainly going for it, tapping Shocking themselves down to 10. Still just a 2-3 Goyf. Alright, there's the Death Shadow. It's a 3-3. Dare I Lightning Bolt the Death Shadow? I don't think so, but it is tempting. I want to actually progress my game plan here, though. And maybe I shouldn't have fetched, for that matter. Let's see. Alright, no harm, no foul. There we go. Alright, well, we at least get to go for it here. You know, I'm not positive if this will work, but there's certainly no reason not to try. Cast a Lukka. Is Lukka going to be lucky this time? Now, if my opponent has double counter magic, they're going to get us, but... Alright, there's a Disdainful Stroke. There's a Veil of Summer. If my opponent has a Stubborn Denial, we're in trouble. They do. Wow, okay. That's a good stack right there. I cannot pay one. Okay, well... Unfortunately cannot Lightning Bolt the Death Shadow either. What if there's an argument I just let the... Well, I guess it wouldn't have mattered. I was going to say, in response to their counterspell, maybe I bolt the Death Shadow. If I see lines. Because now we don't have that option. Seasoned Pyromancer can buy some time. My opponent still has 3 cards in hand. This one feels like it's going to be a little rough. We drew quite a bit of mana, but I mean, look, really our opponent just had the cards they needed. I mean, we had protection for our Lukka. We honestly can't really put together much better of a game plan outside of doing something broken, you know, and having it very fast. I gotta say, I'm all for this. Assassin's Trophy, my Kitchen Finks, which think it's to persist back, and to pull a land out of my deck. That's not the end of the world. I still take this hit. Well, let's see what is this. What's coming out now? Okay. The old Assassin's Trophy Abrupt Decay combo, so you can get in there. I guess I wasn't gonna block. That's crazy. I wasn't gonna block at all. But sure, I guess we'll take the 9. And they got 1 card in hand. We got a shot here. Pyromancer and see what we find, or hold up a Bolt. I mean, I guess it's not really much of a decision. We have to play a Pyromancer. I could Bolt them. That would be a bad idea. I could Bolt the Death Shadow or the Goyf. Does that mess up my mana? I mean, everything in our deck's fairly cheap except for Lukka. But if I drew Lukka land, I could cast it. Versus drawing another Bolt. I think I'm just going to keep my mana open and see what happens. Tapped wrong, though. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'd have to draw a red source anyways. Alright. Pitch these. Draw these. Okay. Alright, alright. Let's see if we can resolve this Magus of the Moon. We did. Alright, so this Relic is not actually very good right now, but in theory, we've locked our opponent out. We have some chump blocks for the Death Shadow. We take the hit from the Tarmogoyf. Next turn, we can crack the Relic and exile the Seasoned Pyromancer, which gets us another 2 tokens. I think we can beat what's on board here. And if we've locked our opponent out of casting spells, we might be able to pull this off. They're not even coming in with the Death Shadow. I will easily take the 4 here. Exile a card from your graveyard. Alright, let's see what we draw. This is interesting because we are relying on a lot of stuff to go our way, but look, our opponent's... Ooh. That doesn't kill them, though, right? Because we swing, they block 2, they take 4, they go to 4. That is not quite enough. It is good, though. Okay. Huh. You can do this anytime, right? I think we swing with these 3. If my opponent blocked the Seasoned Pyromancer, I could actually have bolted the Shadow. Don't know that I would have, but it's certainly an option available to me. So, okay, we've got our opponent at 5. In theory, when they attack, I just make 2 tokens with a Seasoned Pyromancer, and that Bobble's not going to beat us. This Magus of the Moon might have gotten there. My opponent, I don't know what their basic situation is, but they didn't fetch for him. They had a Polluted Delta. They did not fetch. Wow, remember when they Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay to Kitchen Finks I wasn't going to block with, and then could not do anything about the Magus of the Moon? That was pretty cool. All right, and here comes this thing. We should be able to easily take care of that. I guess technically they can Temur Battle Rage us now. They do have red mana. But this should do it. As long as I don't miss my block anyways. All right, I'll pop the Relic because why not? And we should just be able to win the game here. I get a draw, but they can't cast anything. I mean, we're not doing anything, but just swing all, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm missing anything here. Let's do it. It is lethal, so we get the chump block out of the Goyf there. All right, we've done it. We have taken down Sultai Shadow. Lightning Bolt going to the Dome to finish things off. Wow, I did not know if we would do that. This deck is awesome. And look at that. We won games the fair way today. We won games the Emrakul way. That was an awesome deck experience. I'm really glad that this has popped up in Modern, an actual new deck in Modern, or a new spin on a deck, but fueled by an entirely fair card. Lukka's powerful, but it's not broken. You know, we're not talking, it's not like Oko or even something like Uro. These cards that are just so powerful on their face that they're just obviously going to break into basically every format. Companions come to mind based on how that mechanic works, but Lukka is a 5-mana planeswalker that doesn't even win the game when you play it, and yet somehow here we go. This is a viable deck. That was a lot of fun, everybody. Thank you so much for watching Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hosler. I'll see you next week. Every Thursday, I have content out, either Punting Pioneer or Mining Modern here on Cool Stuff. See you next week.